Welcome to Something to Talk About with the Bainbridge Island Senior and Community Center. John Kidd is with us today. We're going to talk about an upcoming program about spirituality, resistance, and love. And I'll get to that in just a minute. I do want to acknowledge that we are meeting and live on the ancestral homeland of the Suquamish, who have lived here since time immemorial. We honor the people of the clear salt water for their stewardship of these lands and waters, and we are grateful that they are so open to helping us learn how to be better stewards ourselves. Also, Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island is the sponsor of Something to Talk About. Something to Talk About actually just won the best podcast on Bainbridge from Best of Bainbridge from the Bainbridge Review for the second year running. We're grateful for that. Fieldstone is a assisted living and independent living and memory care community up on Rolling Bay, and they have a beautiful campus. They offer day stay and respite programs, and they'd love to give you a tour. You can reach out to Randy O'Neill or Sierra Wood by calling 206-594-1010 or check out their website at fieldstonecommunities.com. John, thank you very much for taking the time, catching you in your car from one place to another. Uh, but
Yep.
but we appreciate you stopping and parking so you can talk to us. Upcoming in November, you're with some other folks, Dee Eisenhower, Philip Favreau, Catherine LaFond, Eric Mason. You're putting together a program on how faiths can reach out to heal our democracy. This is the latest in a series of programs. I think that Bainbridge Island Standing Together effort is working to try to do to um, thoughtfully think about resistance and community. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's a good part of it.
So tell me a little bit
Should
about
I?
the project that you're planning that's an outgrowth of this organization Standing Together.
This time we're focusing on faith and how it can heal democracy. I mean, I think we all feel in various different ways the decline of civility, the difficulty of conversation, the human risk of being a politician. And we have to find some way to de-escalate this difference. And as sort of we looked at our migration to digital media has made it worse. And part of the reason it makes it worse is really simple. If you're writing something on your keyboard out to someone else, you don't see their facial expression if you've said something wrong. There's no room for mid-course correction. Whereas if you're sitting face to face with someone, you can see that something you said may have offended them or that they're getting angry, and you have a chance to sort of circle back. And right now, with so much of our interaction happening digitally, it becomes difficult to do that, and things get much more positional, and the capacity to have basic civility is eroded very, very steeply. And this gets rid of democracy. But at the same time, it gets rid of the fundamental tenets of almost every faith, which is do unto others as you have them do unto you. Love thy neighbor. And so we wanted to explore that and say, well, one of the untapped areas in terms of mending the frayed cloth and the civil discourse is faith communities. I mean, it's basic to Christianity to look to the other as a fellow manifestation of God. However you believe, you don't have to be a Christian for that. It goes across all the major faiths. And then based on that, everyone deserves respect. And so if we're respecting the person, then the only difference we have is our beliefs. And then we can explore them with sensitivity, with care, as opposed to cynicism and gotcha moves. So part of this event is just to get folks who have a faith. You don't have to go to church. You don't even have to believe in God. It's not necessary. I mean, having a faith is the belief in basic values of love, of care, of the same things that run families. If we're not decent and truthful with each other, our families break down. So does our democracy. So does our community. The part of the idea is can we find a way to sort of rebuild community, to cross the bridge between red and blue and then some, and see if we can knit things together and say, look, we can't sacrifice basic decency. We can't sacrifice care. We can't sacrifice civility. Let's start to build a discourse that always contains those, and then look again at what divides us. So the way this program will work is we'll have 4 faith leaders that'll be each providing a view about what their faith, what tools their faith provides to start to heal democracy. On a basic level, what Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount is the essence of democracy, that everybody's equal, everybody deserves to be fed, everybody deserves to be cared for, nobody deserves to be discriminated against by virtue of how other people may perceive them or have a status, and that those that have great wealth should share that wealth. Hoarding it is not a good value. And so, ironically, the full democracy that many of us seek under the Declaration of Independence, you can find in many of the faith traditions. So the program then, after the speakers, will go to groups, 20-minute groups of breakout groups, where we can just try to address, where are we? What can we do about this? How can we find a way back? And then we'll sort of pool those answers, and we'll have a Q&A session. And then at the end, there'll be a coffee hour where people can have a chance to meet different faith advocacy groups and other groups like Indivisible and others that are concerned about what's going on. And then we let go. But the idea is to introduce people, reestablish this larger neighborhood of shared values instead of simply shared politics, and see if we can make Bainbridge even more of a community than it is now. And we're going countywide, so we may have many people from outside. The chance to be a real host.
Well, I feel like I mentioned this before we got on this podcast, that one of the things that has sort of broken my heart a bit is watching the digital back and forth discussion about the affordable housing proposal at the old police station. Not the idea that people have different ideas about what should happen, but the tone and sort of suspicion and anger that is coming out. And maybe because a lot of people are communicating through their keyboards instead of in person. But that kind of compassionate conversation is something that is not limited necessarily to people with whom you have disagreements because of the presidential candidate choice. It might be much closer to home than that.
And that's the point. The only way to resuscitate democracy and democratic values is at home. You know, we can't pass a national plank and have people become civil. We've got to say, can we start an ethic on Bainbridge that, you know, all of our digital communications are going to be golden rule? I mean, if you're insulting someone, then you're out of line. And that things can change locally. And then that leads to other people deciding to mimic that change.
And I'm thinking that maybe one of the things that might be a topic of discussion is sort of how to positively try to get people back on track. Obviously, calling people out often escalates. I know when we talk about de-escalation techniques here around the center being a resilience hub, you know, we're talking about how to have a conversation in a way that that doesn't turn up the volume in the process of trying to find common ground or cool somebody off by turning them up.
Yeah, and the fun part of that is that the practice of politics and then the practice of faith start to become really similar. So too, the practice of running any humane institution like the senior center. You can't function without being civil, without being empathic, without being compassionate, without being caring. And if we just sort of say, hey, this is what we're about, this is the entry door we got to go through anytime we're going to have a conversation, then we can start practicing. And if this works here on Bainbridge, we can do outreach to many more conservative churches or people that are looking at things from a different direction. And hopefully we can start a small local movement that says, civility first. And that could be, a very important change.
Can you tell me a little bit about the group? You said 4 leaders. I guess those are Dee Eisenhower and Philip Favreau and Catherine LaFond and Eric Mason. Did you, how
Well,
you
the four
came to get
speakers,
to,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just looking for people that uh, have a long record of doing very good things. I mean, each of them in their own way are faith leaders. Dee Eisenhower is sort of a island institution. She's retiring in about a month, but maybe she's been at this for 40 years. I'm not quite sure how long, but a tremendous amount of time. And she's a deeply respected person that is simply and deeply devoted to community, whether it's breakfasting for people that don't have enough food, or food gathering, or you name the cause, issues of inclusion, issues of awareness, issues of affordable housing. She's really been on the forefront. So I think she'll probably be our lead speaker. And that's a real gift to have that, because I don't think she's going to be doing much work in a month from now. Philip Favreau is a longtime Quaker activist, so we'll get the view of the Quaker community, which has a different cut, but has a very long history of faith-based action. I mean, the Quakers were behind the Underground Railroad. The Quakers were very active in peace negotiations and desegregation and nuclear disarmament, et cetera. So how can folks in faith do things that make the world more secure for all of us? And I think one of the things that amazes me is when I look at some of the discourses on the internet, behind that anger, I feel fear. People fear they aren't being heard, fear they aren't being right, feel insecure that if this affordable housing goes in, somehow that's going to render some major loss. And that level of insecurity can be remedied by greater communication and greater compassion. Next speaker would be Catherine LaFond, a longtime island activist, as well as a food writer, and she'll be talking from a non-church perspective. What are the tools she brings as sort of an earth-based Sufi? And then Eric Mason, who's the pastor at Grace Episcopal, will be talking about his perspective. And Grace Church was very kind to host this entire event, which is a huge effort on their part, and they should be given, great congratulations for reaching out and doing that. In the end analysis, Grace Church is doing what churches should do, which is have to reach out for the greater good of the community, to assist the community to care for each other. That's the hope.
Now, the other organization helping to support this, besides Standing Together Bainbridge Island, is Third Act Washington. What can you tell us about that group?
Yeah, Third Act is a great group. It started about 3 years ago, or almost 4 years ago. Bill McKibben was behind it. He started a 350.org, which is a student group that went worldwide. But then he decided that the biggest untapped resource for decency, civility, and care is seniors, people over 60. So this is now a national group. It's gone from 0 members to almost 60,000 in 3 years. It has branches all over the nation, and it has 2 focuses. 1, we have to have a livable climate, and 2, we have to have a functional democracy. And you can't have either without the other. There's no way to get to a livable climate without people working together in agreement, and it's very difficult to have a democracy. You can't have a democracy without a livable climate. So it's a bit like the senior center in that it's full of people from 60 plus they have faith workers, they have ex-educators, ex-scientists, lots of academics, lots of just regular folks that are saying, we're not going to retire to Palm Springs and play golf. We're going to retire, end up giving our grandkids a decent place to live and trying to turn this around. So the Third Act is instrumental in sponsoring the background support and some of the publicity and things like that. And there's quite a few third actors on Bainbridge Island. And frankly, we're looking for more folks to come together, because you don't have to be an expert to be one. There's just sort of standing together and say, I'd like to figure out what I want to do. Many people in Third Act aren't sure what they want to do, but they're in a community of other people that are sharing that sense.
Well, and it sounds like to some degree, go ahead.
Yep. No, that's it.
Okay, yeah, that seems in some ways like a wonderful first step would be this event on November 8th. You don't have to come with a agenda. You can just come with curiosity and see what, having these speakers set the table. Maybe you'll come up with some ideas or meet some people with whom you can grow and figure out how you might contribute. So the meeting is from noon to 2:30 at Grace, you were saying, up on Day Road,
Yep.
November 8th.
Yep.
And I'm going to mention also that I guess all this information is available on standingtogetherbi.org, which is the website for Standing
And
Together Bainbridge.
there's a QR code, so we're asking that people please register beforehand. So if we're going to make cookies and all that stuff, we need to know how many people are coming. And then we can also make name tags, because we're hoping that people will be wearing name tags and they'll meet other people that feel the same way. Maybe there's some people that are ready to march. They can meet the others that are ready to march. Others are saying, I don't know what I'm doing. This is scary, but I really need to be here. I'm hoping that they will be finding other people that feel the exact same way. But if you don't
Great.
register, we won't have the data.
Exactly.
It's
Excellent.
at the bottom of the poster.
It's at the bottom of the poster. It's also on the homepage of standingtogetherbi .org.
Yep.
Thank you, John, for the time, and I am looking forward to this event on November 8th. I hope it'll be a valuable next step in the effort of standing together on Bainbridge.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Reed. And in a way, we're trying to do what you do at the Senior Center, which is bring people together in a caring way and helping them move forward to build a community.
Have a wonderful afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.